Hey guys, Greg and Ryan here. We are back with some more American Horror Story breakdowns. As promised, we go back to past seasons for you guys, and we're gonna start with season 4 of Freak Show.
Now, if you haven't seen season 4 yet, what are you doing? Get out of here and go watch it. And if you already have seen season 4, then, well, it's a perfect time for a rewatch.
Let's start now with episode 1, Monsters Among Us. Now, Monsters Among Us, the first episode of Freak Show, originally aired over 5 years ago in October of 2014. And a fun fact, Ryan Murphy actually directed this episode. It was the first time he directed an episode since the Murder House pilot. So he was back at helming this one. Pretty cool to see him back directing an episode of his show.
Yeah, and in an old interview with Entertainment Weekly, Murphy talked about how he pulled a lot of horror tropes from old films such as Carnival of Lost Souls and Todd Browning's Freaks, the 1932 film.
Let me just read you this synopsis of Freaks from 1932. A circus's beautiful trapeze artist agrees to marry the leader of sideshow performers, but his deformed friends discover she is only marrying him for his inheritance. Now, even in that movie Freaks, there's some similar characters that we have become familiar with, like, you know, the Freak Show. You know, the bearded lady, conjoined twins, sibling dwarves, a clown. Sorry to bring up clowns so early. But yeah, so a lot of the same tropes and themes, a conniving, suspenseful kind of murder behind the scenes stuff going on as well. So a lot of fun aspects of and horror tropes being used that we will see come to fruition during this season of American Horror Story.
Okay, the setting for this season is Jupiter, Florida in 1952. So you are 6 years away from World War II. We are now a few years into Korean War. And what else do we have at this time period?
I mean, you're in the South, right? So it's the Jim Crow South. Still, the civil rights movement hasn't even begun yet. Now, this time period and this setting helps kind of frame the story that we'll see in Freak Show, right? You have a separate classes of people, basically. You have the freaks, and you have like the normal folks, and they treat the freaks like outcasts. I mean, they can't even live like in the regular town, right? They have to kind of move from spot to spot, like traveling gypsies almost. They're treated poorly, as we see throughout the season.
They're throwing bottles at them.
Yeah, they're talked down
trash,
to. They're basically considered trash, and they can't like assimilate into regular day-to-day life. So it gives us a good idea of kind of what was going on in U.S. history in the real world, but also kind of a perspective that kind of, you know, makes you feel a certain way towards how society works back then.
Now, Elsa runs one of the last remaining freak shows in all of the US because this kind of goes hand in hand with the fact that these are also dying out in real life at the time period because television's on the way and it would take over the world at that point.
Yeah, less and less people are going to see live freak shows or side shows, right? They're staying at home. They're watching black and white TV broadcasts. I think color TV comes out a few years after this. So, you know, much like Elsa Mars is a fading star, she thinks she's still a star. She's much like the industry of freak shows and side shows. She's kind of fading away fast. She's trying to hold on to those last remaining years and try to, you know, make a name for herself, but it's not going so well.
You mind closing out your check now? I'm going on break.
Oh, darling. It's on the house. Stars never pay.
All right, let's finally get into the breakdown now. It starts off with some voiceover from Dot, and in the background you can hear the theme song from David Lynch's Elephant Man.
And this gives you kind of a hint of what to expect, right? Always, the framing of this is so incredible because as we learn later, the Tattler twins are conjoined Siamese twins, but
like,
you only see you only see one, you only see you know, Dot framed in the shot. And then you hear the Elephant Man underneath it, so you're like, what's going on here?
Something's coming.
Deformity, something's going on here that we're gonna see later on. But it sounds like a very ominous opening to the show, obviously. And then we find out later that there's a lot of complex things going on with Bette and Dot at this exact moment.
The shadows that had sheltered me were banished by the blinding light of scrutiny. I knew I was about to enter the gates of hell.
Right after that, we see a milkman. He's approaching the house.
Milkmen, they used to like deliver milk. That's crazy.
It's delicious.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Now he steps inside the house. First wrong move here. You should have
just leave the milk at the door.
Yeah. No fingerprints, man. At this point, the second you walk in that house, you see the food still there, and I just would have put my hands in my pocket and walked on out of there.
Yep,
but
I'm with you.
After that, he finds a dead body. We find out later that is was it Eudora Tattler?
Yeah, Bette and Dot's mother.
Oh, sweet Jesus!
And then, after you find a dead body, what's the next thing you do instead of call the police or anything? You check the rest of the house.
I don't know what he's thinking there.
Yeah, you just go looking around. It's all good. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
And he stumbles upon Bette and Dot.
Yeah, they were basically hiding in a closet, and is made to believe that they came out and attacked him. But basically, it's set up later that they're rushed to the hospital, and they were also attacked. So we think.
Well, yeah, I got it because it's more of it's an asynchronous sound bridge they used. You can see him scream, but they change it to just some sound effect out to the stretcher, which I love. One of the first times you can see something like that. Again, nerdy stuff, but 39 Steps does it with Alfred Hitchcock's film way back in the 30s.
Now, one thing to note when we get to the hospital is that all the doctors and nurses, everyone's pretty much in shock of what they've found of Bette and Dot Tattler.
Throwing up.
People have no idea. This almost like a new discovery, right? They had never seen anything like this before. It's almost like a medical miracle. And the Tattler twins were basically, pretty much, as we learn later, kept in hiding at the house. They moved around a lot. They didn't. Their mother treated them really poorly, and
it was a prison for them.
Yeah, and no one in the public knew about them at all.
Enter Elsa Mars, who somehow talks her way into the hospital room.
It's so easy, right?
Just a costume change. That's it. That's all you need, and some balloons.
Yes, and she gets in there, and then this is the first moment where we see Bette and Dot as they are, the reveal of them. And it's pretty expertly and really well done in terms of the point of view from their perspective.
Oh, I love that.
We see with the cutting of the cameras and the split screen.
Yeah.
I love how they show both the left and right perspective.
And then they show one looking down, one looking up.
Yeah, so you get to see that they're looking at different things throughout the day. They're thinking different things throughout the day in their own perspective. I thought it was very well done how they did this.
Someone reads. My intuition tells me it wasn't your dear departed mama. Betty Grable is my favorite.
And this was like a combo of practical effects and some digital split screens. Basically, Sarah Paulson wore a prosthetic head on the wide shots, and they captured all the dialogue and close-up work afterwards. Paulson would also have to shoot each scene twice, one for each character, obviously. This took a lot more time than it normally would, and I can only imagine it made the shoots just that much more challenging to kind of get right.
Yeah, when you get to later episodes, you can see why they may have pulled back some of her scenes.
Yeah.
You only use her sparingly at the end.
Right. Because you're having constantly to change into a close-up or a wider shot and hide what's going on practically, but also then it's a lot more post-production for the visual artists to then...
As you get along too, and now you're at the clock and you're racing week to week.
Because you'll even notice when she moves her head, certain muscles in between the conjoined part of the body, they move around and stuff like that. So I thought this season, it was really well done in terms of practical and visual effects.
There's a bit of Betty about you. Central lips, that sassy smile.
Now the twins Bette and Dot, they're a little different.
Yeah, a lot different, I'd say, yeah.
just a little bit. Dot's a bit more cautious and conservative.
Yeah.
And Bette, she's a little freewheeling.
A little more gullible, a little more loving, and doesn't, and kind of just head in the clouds kind of vibe. And Dot's just kind of very serious.
Has anyone tasted your cherry pie? Oh, dear God, she's a psycho pervert.
She's down to earth is all.
That brings us to Twisty the Clown. Sorry, Greg.
It's all good.
Talking about clowns for the next few minutes.
It's okay.
This was a really cool setup for Twisty the Clown, who's one of the best villains I think that we've seen. The scariest villains, maybe not the best, but just some people making out in the park, and Twisty comes and interrupts them. He has the bowling pins, just really a blunt instrument to knock someone out, and then you see him just stabbing the poor guy to death. And the woman just runs away. Poor girl.
But he catches up to her. And I'm going to be honest with you. Now, I've seen these things because we've edited this footage over and over and over again for other things. But still watching it, I pulled my phone out, and every Twisty scene, I was not paying attention to that whatsoever.
Is that because you're bored of it, or you're kind of scared to look at Twisty?
Oh, I'm bored. Completely. Just bored. Very bored. We then meet Jimmy Darling. Hello, Evan Peters. This scene is pretty quick. It's just a matter of he's trying to, hit on the waitress a little bit, but he's also giving her tales of their life they're gonna have while Elsa's listening on, like, homie, you work for me.
Yeah,
you're not going anywhere.
Exactly, yeah. Elsa's committed to one thing only, right? And that's the freak show and her own success. She basically cares about herself. She's very, very selfish. And Jimmy is kind of a dreamer, right? He wants to see what life is beyond being in this freak show and just traveling around the United States in these shows. He sees a land of opportunity and to live a normal life. Yeah. You also have to consider that he's like covering up his deformity at this point, right?
Some black gloves.
He can't be his true self in this situation. And even Elsa reminds him of this, like, hey, as soon as you take those off, like, let's see how she reacts to you.
She asked him for, can you light my cigarette?
Right.
Stuff like that.
Elsa sucks.
Wait until you meet Stanley.
I can't seem to get this thing to work. Would you try?
Is this your mom?
Now, speaking of Jimmy, Greg, let's talk about his side gig.
Oh yeah, the Tupperware party. I was so confused at first, like, wait, where are they going? Yes. And then that reveal of him on the bed, like, how's it going?
Yeah, it's a little bit much for me, I'll be honest. I didn't need to see all this. So apparently this whole town is just women that have never been pleasured, and Jimmy is just making a business out of pleasing the married women or unmarried women across the town.
Okay, he's making a good buck.
Now, in case you're wondering, Jimmy Darling is in fact inspired by a real-life person.
Ooh, and it's a crazy story.
It is insane. Like, this movie needs to happen. That real-life sideshow performer is Grady Stiles Jr., who was born in 1937. Now, in 1978, his oldest daughter was going to get married, but Grady didn't approve of that, so he shot the fiancé with a shotgun. Seriously. Then he confessed to the murder, but was released because the prison couldn't accommodate his disabilities. Then in 1992, the family had enough and hired another performer to finally kill him with 3 bullets to the head.
Directed by Darren Aronofsky.
I'm watching that.
Yeah, or maybe David Lynch,
I'm watching
Elephant Man kind of way. I
I'll
can
watch
see that too.
Yeah. Now, Grady Stiles Jr., much like Jimmy Darling, both suffered from ectrodactyly, I think it's how it's pronounced.
Ectrodactyly.
Basically, it's a congenital disorder where abnormalities form in your hands and feet that have, like, basically make it look claw-like or extra webbing. So in this case, they're referred to as Lobster Boy or Lobster Man because of how their hands look.
This recent discovery, the killing of Troy Miller and the abduction of Bonnie Lipton, along with the death of Eudora Tattler, bring to 4 the number of shocking murders that have terrified the residents of our peaceful hamlet in the past 2 weeks.
From there, we move on to Twisty again. His killing spree has started. We hear it in the radio broadcast. And then we see his creepy-ass bus, his little school bus he's got.
His little headquarters.
Yeah. It's very nice.
He's choosing some younger victims, basically, to abduct and bring back to his bus and basically just traumatize them.
Yes. So in American Horror Story canon, if I was on the show, that is my hellscape. That's it. That's really what it's going to be.
We don't want Greg to go there.
Yeah, it's going to be a loop of that, of him just shaking the damn room
that
over
is
and over.
terrifying, Greg. That would scare the hell out of me, too.
I'm just being honest. Yeah. That's what it would be.
Yeah. And again, guys, Twisty is played by John Carroll Lynch, who, of course, played Mr. Jingles in AHS 1984. Next up, we get the actual truth behind Eudora Tattler's murder. The twins weren't completely honest with Elsa from the jump, but Elsa basically gets it out of them. She kind of knows when she's basically don't bullshit a bullshitter. She knows exactly what's going on, and she calls them out. And basically, we find out that their mother treated them so poorly that in an act of defiance and just complete frustration.
They just wanted to see Singing in the Rain in beautiful Technicolor. What was wrong with her?
Bring them to the theater. Let them see. I mean, this is ridiculous, but
it's like I want to see Avatar 2 in Dolby Digital sound, Mom. Come on, Carol.
Then you throw a temper tantrum.
Janet, Linda.
I mean, maybe they don't react that way, right? Let's not kill a parent. But
no,
no,
I didn't say that.
Yeah, don't kill a parent over this. But basically, we find out that they killed their mother and then Dot self-harmed Bette.
Yes.
In an effort to make it look like there was some attack at the house, right? That they basically covered up the murder that they did. So, even Bette and Dot, who we are kind of already rooting for, they have a dark past. Mm-hmm. They've murdered somebody.
Everybody, it's American Horror Story. Someone's gonna have a dark past. Now we get back to the opening shot. This time it's on Bette.
Right.
As we walk through the Devil's Door and we see Jimmy Darling and the rest of the freaks as well.
The future had never seemed brighter.
The voiceover is Bette's, and it's an optimistic tone as compared to what we saw from Dot earlier on. Yeah. And basically, it's it's the start of something new for the twins after they agree to go with Elsa and join them at the freak show.
Let's hope they start bringing in some paying customers, huh?
We learn a bit more about the extent of Elsa's manipulation and how she basically is a conniving, crazy person. Mm-hmm. Penny, who was at the hospital from before.
The nurse, right?
The nurse, right? She basically has been at the freak show against her own will, it seems. Basically, she was drugged and...
She says she was like into it even on the screen, but obviously drugs were involved here.
And not only that, Elsa's filming it and has evidence that it looks like Penny is enjoying herself.
No.
All these sexual acts, and basically Penny has nothing. She has no response to this. She can't do anything. Mm-hmm. She has evidence that states the opposite. So Elsa, like I said, a horrible person. She'll go to any extent in order to get what she wants.
But you undoubtedly be one of those soulless monsters. Perhaps you already are.
Now back to the Tattlers. The police pretty much have a good idea of what went down with their mother.
Yeah.
And so they send a detective. Apparently they send a detective by himself to go talk to them.
And arrest them right there.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
in the middle of the night.
Exactly. And the thing is, also on top of that, they escaped the hospital. They're no longer at the hospital. So it's like kind of fishy that this would happen to their mother, and then they were in the hospital, then they left the hospital.
Bolted.
And now they're at the freak show. So
they did it.
Definitely, something's fishy around here. But Jimmy doesn't let the detective take them.
No, because he calls him a freak.
And Jimmy just, flips out.
Wasn't having it.
Don't call us freaks! I'll call you whatever the hell I want to, you freaks!
So much like the Tattler twins, Jimmy now has a dark side of him.
He has blood on his hands.
No one is 100% good in this universe, right? Everyone has something that they've done that's twisted, and it really creates a complex relationship when you're watching on the screen, right? Like he just murdered somebody for no reason. Jimmy.
And right after that, we meet the Mott family.
Oh, yeah.
Dandy and Gloria Mott, Finn Whitrock, and the incredible Frances Conroy.
Yes.
All right. And they are just despicable.
They are despicable. And the Mott family also will tie into a later season, obviously, in Roanoke, that we'll see later on. So
one of my favorite seasons.
Mott family is pretty messed up.
Yes.
When it comes to, everything in American Horror Story is messed up. But the Mott family, especially Dandy, damn.
So, how much?
Then we get a big musical performance in this episode is Elsa Mars. She's still trying to hold on to that spotlight and sing. She does David Bowie's Life on Mars. Mm-hmm. Even her wardrobe and makeup literally is an homage to Bowie.
Now wait a minute. The song came out in 1971. So are we doing the whole thing like Great Gatsby all over?
Just forget about it.
Fine.
It's contemporary music in a period setting. Now, all jokes aside, it is a good opportunity to see Jessica Lange and just the breadth of what she has to perform.
She was amazing.
Acting, singing, dancing. Mm-hmm. We've seen it in previous things she's done.
The Name Game.
Yeah, she's incredible when she's performing a song or a dance. So I'm all for it. I do agree with you with the contemporary music, but if you get Jessica Lange up there, I'm not complaining.
So the Mott's gonna buy the twins straight
Specifically
up.
Dandy.
Cash money, straight up. Dandy wants them for whatever reason at this. We don't even know yet why he wants these twins.
I don't even want to know, ever.
Okay, but Elsa says no.
Yeah.
She says no because she wants to put them in the act. So
right. It wasn't for some amazing, hey, I care about them. It wasn't like that. It was
no,
more
she's like they're my property.
Yeah,
I want to use them.
I can make money off of them. It's not for any sentimental reason. It's literally because she wants to make money.
We are a troupe of entertainers, a family, and you will not split up our family.
Now, Greg, let's talk about Jimmy and the freaks surrounding the dead body of the detective. They have a big rah-rah speech, kind of brings them all together. You know, they're not going to take any more shit from anyone else, from the normal folks, from the cops, from anyone that's badgering them. And then for some reason, they just all repeatedly just stab him.
Yeah.
They just want to all be a part of the ritual.
Okay.
They all want to be responsible at some point, and they're all going to basically be, hey, we're a one united front.
In this together.
Yeah.
We all killed him.
And then Twisty's just watching from afar, like, hey guys, can I join?
What's going on? We then see Ethel, played by Kathy Bates. She was in the episode a little bit earlier, but now we can talk about her a little bit more here and her friendship with Elsa. As we see Elsa, she's on, I think she's smoking opium at this point. She's a little high, or very high actually, and she's confessing a little bit too much.
Yeah, and these two, you can tell, have a pretty close relationship. I guess as close as you could get to Elsa, as you wanted to. She's kind of like the right-hand woman to Elsa. And basically Elsa just talks about, you know, how broken and miserable she is and how she's still like hoping for that last kind of chance at stardom, but it's just kind of slipping away.
Yeah.
And then the ultimate reveal at the end, obviously, is that she has the prosthetic legs, that her legs were cut off or amputated at some point in her life, and she's kind of hiding this deformity, abnormality that she's hiding for a very long time.
I like it. It's your little edgy protagonist reveal that you got going on here, like in Mad Men, stuff like that. And, or at least in the first episode.
Yeah.
I called the office. They said you'd left.
I didn't want to bother you.
It's no bother. Just assumed you're staying in the city again.
Now, one more note for the ending credit sequence here. You might notice a familiar sound. The musical theme played throughout season 4 is taken from the opening notes of the song Black Sabbath by Black Sabbath. The difference here is that it's played at an octave or two higher and on violins. But it's kind of cool how you see this used throughout, kind of repurposed throughout the season of Freak Show. So a little fun little fact there. Now let's end this breakdown with our favorite moments from the episode. Greg, what was your absolute favorite part of episode 1?
Okay, well, two things. One, it's Twisty's face. Again, he has this face of what the hell's going on when he looks at the rest of the freaks stabbing the detective.
Yes.
And the second thing that I really liked is Gloria's just knife-cutting diss to Elsa.
Come, Dandy, I need a long hot bath. Though nothing will wash away the ghastly memory of that infernal caterwauling. By far the most freakish thing of all tonight was your pathetic attempt at singing.
Frances Conroy literally has some of the best lines in all of American Horror Story.
Yep.
And the way that she delivers these discs is just perfect. I'm just surprised that Twisty was one of your favorite moments.
It's gonna be rare.
Yeah.
Very rare.
You know, you don't like clowns, so. My favorite moment has to be, I think it was the juxtaposition of the two shots of Bette and Dot as they're walking down and entering the freak show. You know, I love the framing of obviously going into the mouth of that giant freak-looking thing, whatever it is, but just the entrance and then how they just framed up the perspectives and the voiceover of each one of the characters to get a totally different idea of the complex feelings that one would have at this point in their life, right? One's going into it totally different than the other one, and it just kind of adds some fun and some complexity to what we normally would assume, you know, would be either a really scary future or a really optimistic and happy and fun one.
And a good use of the craft. I really like the production value in it too.
Yeah, totally. So that does it for this breakdown for episode 1. But if we missed anything or if you guys have any questions or comments about it, hit us up in the comments below.
And we'll see you all back here next week. Bye-bye.